Hey Solidworks users, welcome to our one-part mini-series where we are honoring the Amazon princess, Wonder Woman, by modeling her iconic invisible jet in Solidworks. So here I have a new part file open, and we're done. So I hope you've enjoyed this mini-series and that you've walked away with a few Solidworks tips and tricks that you can put into practice. You know what I'm thinking, despite the hours of work and dedication I've put into developing this series, I think I should just scrap it and maybe we should move on to something, a little more, tangible. So instead, let's walk through a four-part series on how to model Wonder Woman's tiara and her indestructible bracelets. These models will become available to you at the end of the series, so stay tuned for instructions on how to download the models. So I could definitely see some of you female warrior engineers out there 3D printing these artifacts just in time for Halloween. In part one of the series, we'll begin modeling the central portion of her tiara. So let's open a fresh part file, and before beginning to model the tiara, I'm going to create a reference surface that's shaped somewhat like the top portion of your average female head. So the dimensions I'm using for the depth and breadth of this head shape actually fall kind of in the 50th percentile of female heads out there. So if you want to model this to fit your head, just come back to these original sketches and tweak the dimensions, and the model should update automatically. I'm just going to use a couple of open splines that I fully constrain. And a little side note here, I know the typical human head isn't fully symmetrical like this, but Wonder Woman is arguably one of the most symmetrical beings to have ever lived, so I'm guessing her head is pretty symmetrical as well. So let's just go with that. So with my two open splines complete, to create the surface, navigate to the Surfaces tab and enter the Boundary Surface tool. In the Property Manager under Direction 1, I'm first going to choose my top profile spline and then my bottom profile spline. And in this drop down under Direction 1, I can set a normal to constraint for each sketch, which will help round this shape out. And I'll just adjust the value to come to a shape I'm happy with. This is a nice feature in the boundary tool that allows you to create organic forms without the need for guide curves as you would need when using the loft tool. We just need to model half of the tiara, and we'll just mirror that half later on to wrap up the design. So this will be my base surface that we can create various extrusions off of. If you look at the design of Wonder Woman's tiara, you'll see each design element kind of extrudes out at different depths. So I'm going to create a bunch of reference surfaces that are offset from this base surface. So with this methodology, we will use a series of extrusions that start from our base reference surface and extrude up to the various offset surfaces for the different design elements. And just for simplicity in tracking which surface I'd like to use for which extrusion, I'm going to rename each surface according to the offset value that I applied. Now we're ready to create our first extrusion. Sketching on the front plane, I'm going to simply use the line tool to create the enclosed sketch and dimension everything to fully constrain it. I'm referencing images of Wonder Woman's tiara on the side here that I've found online while doing this, and I'm just trying to match the base shape as close as possible. the sketch fully constrained, let's exit the sketch. I want to ensure my base reference surface is showing, as well as the surface that I offset at 0.0625 inches. With the sketch highlighted, under the Features tab, enter the Extruded Boss tool. In the Property Manager within the drop-down, under From, we'll select Surface/Face/Plane and choose our base reference surface to extrude off of. Then in the drop-down under Direction 1, select Up to Surface and choose the 0.0625 inch offset surface. You may have to hit the double arrow icon to reverse the direction of the extrusion like I had to here, and hit the green check mark to create the first extrusion. So I'm going to use this methodology with several more extrusions, so I'll just go ahead and skip ahead, and I'll chime back in to show you a few different options within the Extruded Boss tool. So here I have the cross shape sketched out, and I'm ready to extrude to and from the appropriate reference surfaces, just as with the other extrusions. But after extruding this, I want to chamfer the tips of the cross a bit to create some separation between it and the other design elements. So I'm going to uncheck the Merge Result option to leave it as a separate body. Now with this star shape, again I want to chamfer the tips a bit later on, so I don't want to merge to the main body of the tiara. But I can go ahead and merge it to the cross shape so we don't have too many separate bodies floating around. So instead of deselecting Merge Result, down here under Feature Scope, I'm going to uncheck Auto Select and instead select the bodies I'd like this shape to merge with. In this case, I just want it to merge to the cross shape. Now at the center portion of the design, at a stopping point, I'm going to begin modeling a portion of the band that wraps around the head. Again, we'll sketch on the front plane, and I'm going to just offset from the outer edge of our quote-unquote head reference surface 0.2 inches, and use the Line tool to connect the band to the center design. On this top line, I want a nice blended band, so I'm going to set a tangency constraint between the sketch line and the existing edge it is connected to. And once happy with the shape, I'll just trim away the excess offset curve using the Trim tool. I want the base portion of the band to be at the same level as this face here, so I'm going to unhide the offset surface I used for that portion and complete the extrusion just as I did with the others. Next, I'll just blend the bottom portion of the band using a 0.2 inch fillet. And now back to sketch on the front plane, I'll create this bottom portion of the band using the Convert Entities tool to copy over a few existing edges. And I'll use the Spline tool to create a little bit more of a unique shape, being careful to set a few tangency constraints to the existing geometry so everything blends together nicely. For this extrusion, rather than extrude up to the offset surface I created, you can also extrude up to an existing surface on the actual model. In this case, I want this band to be at the same level as the existing band here. And as you can see, I end up with the same result as if I unhid the correct offset surface and extruded up to that. So I'll use that same methodology to complete the top portion of the band. Let's wrap up this part of the series by cutting this band back a bit to achieve a nice flat surface. This will help us when completing the band in part 2 of the series. Sketching on the top plane, I'm just going to create an angled line that is perpendicular to the outside edge of the reference surface. We could achieve this same result by creating a fully enclosed sketch and doing a simple extruded cut through the band, but I'd like to show you another cool option here. So here I just have a single solid line that I've fully constrained, and keep in mind this should be a solid line, not a construction line. Exit the sketch and navigate to Insert, Features, Split. In the Property Manager, under Trim Tools, ensure your line sketch is selected and click the Cut Bodies button. This will bring up the options of bodies that you can cut using this trim tool. In our case, we just want to select this excess portion of the band. We'll ensure the Consume Cut Bodies option is selected here and hit OK to remove this excess portion of the band. So we are well underway to modeling a few of Wonder Woman's powerful artifacts. Stay tuned for part 2 of the series, where we will use a few unique tools to complete the band design and we'll finish up modeling her tiara.